Start this hour here in the UK, where there's been renewed rioting in some cities in England and Northern Ireland. The worst outbreaks of violence came in Belfast, Plymouth and Birmingham. Nearly 400 people have been arrested after a week of violent disorder, which began last week in Southport after the fatal stabbings of 3 girls and escalated following misinformation about the identity of the perpetrator spread on social media. Last night in Plymouth, at least 3 police officers were injured in what the police described as sustained violence. Bricks and fireworks were thrown at them. 6 arrests were made. In Belfast, riot officers had stones and petrol bombs thrown at them close to a supermarket which was set alight at the weekend. As the latest disorder unfolded, the Prime Minister criticised the owner of X, Elon Musk, who posted that civil war is inevitable in the UK. Our reporter Aruna Iyengar has the latest.
2 opposing protests in Plymouth started out peacefully before vocal clashes between the anti-racism and anti-immigration groups. Police in riot gear were deployed to keep the groups apart, and several officers suffered injuries as violence later broke out.
It was kind of terrifying. Hundreds of people moved up the Hoe Park onto the kind of the promenade and the memorial area. 10 minutes after that, there was a strong police presence kind of dissipating them after they'd set fires and things. And then there was a huge group of rioters outside our front door, kind of smashing things, organising themselves for further mischief. And then 10 minutes after that, it completely moved back down towards the town centre area.
Crowd should disperse immediately. There was also unrest in South Belfast. Last night, riot teams were deployed to Sandy Row as a petrol bomb and stones were thrown at police officers. In Birmingham, cars were smashed and a pub was damaged after protesters gathered following false rumours of a planned far-right demonstration. And a hate crime investigation is underway in Burnley after gravestones in the Muslim section of a cemetery were covered in white paint.
I still think that there is a way to bring this to an end by people coming together as a community in the way that we've seen in the clean-up operations. Now, clearly that strength of community spirit is there, and that's what we call upon to bring this violence to an end.
Meanwhile, in Southport, the community is dealing with the horrors of last week and the disorder that's followed. The family of Leanne Lucas, who was stabbed while leading the children's dance class, have shared their disbelief at what's going on around the country.
Just go home. Just let us recover as the best we can. I know we're never going to recover, but at least give us a chance to.
Police say they're working around the clock to identify more people involved in the violent disorder, with more arrests expected in the coming days. Aruna Iyengar, BBC News.
Well, let's go live to our political correspondent, Harry Farley, who is at Westminster. So, Harry, more violence last night, and the Prime Minister has spoken about holding those responsible both on the streets and online. But I suppose the question is, how can the government do that?
Yeah, that's right, Nikki. Morning to you. Ministers that we've been hearing from are very concerned, as you say, about criminal activity online, such as inciting violence, but also separately about the spread of misinformation online and urging social media companies to do more. And in that context, we heard briefly, as you mentioned there, the sort of war of words that's really emerged between the Prime Minister and the CEO of X, Elon Musk, one of the richest men in the world. And Elon Musk highlighted a post by the far-right activist Stephen Yaxley-Lennon, also known as Tommy Robinson, to his 193 million followers. And then separately, in response to another post about the riots, Elon Musk posted, "Civil war is inevitable in the UK." And the Prime Minister spokesperson we heard from yesterday criticising that comment, saying there is no justification for comments like that. But then Elon Musk followed it up, directly criticising the Prime Minister, who said last night that he would not tolerate attacks on Muslim communities. And in response to that, Elon Musk posted, "Shouldn't you be concerned about attacks on all communities?" So there's that context, I suppose, going around that spat between the Prime Minister and Elon Musk. We heard from the Justice Minister, Heidi Alexander, this morning, rejecting accusations among some from the protesters, among some rioters, about two-tier policing, essentially that the police manage protests in different ways depending on which community is protesting. She rejected those allegations when she spoke to us this morning.
Fundamentally, the police will take operational decisions about how to police protests effectively. What I do take issue with, though, is the idea that what we're seeing on our streets at the moment is a protest. It is not. It is outright, sheer criminality and violence, and that is why the individuals who are responsible for it need to face the full force of the law and face consequences for the actions that they are choosing to take.
Secretary Peter Kyle met with representatives from X, but also TikTok, Meta and Google yesterday. And following that meeting, he said that he expects platforms to ensure that those seeking to spread hate online are not being facilitated and have no place to hide. And the government, I suppose, looking, as you say, to arrest and sentence those who are participating in violence on the streets, but also urging social media companies to do more to stop the spread of misinformation on their platforms.
And on that point that they want to arrest and put them through the courts, is there enough court time? And we know that prison spaces have been at a low amount available. So are more prison spaces going to be created, Harry?
Well, let's take that second point, first of all, on prisons. As you say, there's been real concern over the last few weeks about the availability of prison space and the capacity within the prison system, with warnings about the prison estate being full. The government's saying this morning that they are creating an extra more than 500 prison places in the coming weeks. Now, that was part of a plan already. It's going to come partly from repurposing cells in Cookham Wood in Kent, but also a new block in Rutland. So those plans were already in place, but they're being sort of accelerated, I suppose, to cope with the arrests that have been made. Keir Starmer says he wants those who have been arrested to stay or to be remanded in custody while they wait for trial. And so far, around 400 people have been arrested, with the National Police Chiefs Council saying that they are expecting more to be arrested in the coming days as police wade through all that footage that we've seen to identify those people perpetrating the violence. And on your point about courts, Nikki, well, there's an additional protocol that's been set up so that the courts can sit, magistrates' courts in particular, can sit for longer if they need to. That is actually up to the judiciary, up to the judges to set those hours, but that power is there if they need to sit for longer to process the extra hearings that they're expecting.
Harry Farley with the latest at Westminster. Thank you very much.